So let's go to chapter 1 now. Ayokunle, all crying, flew to her. "You be hid my teddy, I can't find it at all," he said, breathing hard. "He says he's going to keep it forever." The little boy's heart was beating like crazy in his chest. She caught him as he was starting to fall, unable to control his wings. Ayokunle was a very special boy. He was one of the last descendants of a dragon clan. Everything he wished for would be granted, but in return he would have to go through a lot of pain. A few months ago, he was watching the first flight of baby birds from the nest near the living room windows, and he had a wish to be able to fly, making wings start to grow in his back, giving him an incredible pain. That's how Brownie had met you. The first time, she had finally finished to calm Ayokune's pain by giving him sugar, and the little boy was about to fall asleep when you appeared out of nowhere. "I heard the little boy was in pain," he said, looking pretty confident. "I can cure him." He was looking very proud of himself, but for a second, the only thing Brownie was able to see was a beautiful purple light dancing in his grey eyes. As he started to stroke Ayokune's back, however, the cry of the baby took her away from her dream. "What do you think you're doing?" She was really mad. She took Ayokune away from him and started to cradle him inside him. It had taken her hours to make him fall asleep, and now he was crying again and she had to start all over again. "I can cure him," he said again, full of confidence. "Oh, really? He is cursed. There is nothing you can do. Have you ever seen wings grow?" She tried to keep the baby away from him, but Hugh didn't listen, and started to stroke his back again. "Yes, mine," he answered, agitating his restless wings. A white light went out of his hand, and he started to speak magic words in ancient Greek. Hayakunle's wings started to grow so fast that Brownie could see them change with her own eyes. Hayakunle was fine, not crying anymore, just enjoying his new wings, but Yu's wings had changed to a brownish color, and he was burning with fever. She tried to help him, but he pushed her away. "I don't need your help, little girl. I'm fine. Take care of the baby," he said, and he left, as he had appeared, leaving her with a weird feeling. She looked at Ayonkele and started to cuddle him and hug him tenderly. Maybe for that he was by far her favorite. "It's okay, Hayu. Stop crying. I'll help you find it back." "It's my favorite, the one you gave me," he said, sniffling loudly. Hearing that name squeezed her heart. "I'll find it back, don't worry." Saying those words, she wasn't only thinking about the teddy bear. "Yobi, Yobi, can you come here?" she called. A red-headed little boy, smiling heavily, with fox hair on the top of his head and nine tail moving happily in his back, starting to walk out of the living room. Yobi was also very special. He had been rescued from a farm where he was held prisoner after trying to hunt chickens. He was a 400 years old nine-tailed fox, but for a fox being 400 years old was very young. The farmer had no idea what to do with him, and he was sometimes looking like a fox, sometimes looking like a little boy. He had started to drive them crazy when he was brought here. Now his most delightful activity was to pull pranks on everybody around with his magic powers. After long runs at Brownie and Ayokunle, he started to become invisible. "I won't give it back. I like it too. It's mine now." His hair and tail, only part of his body remaining visible, were running to the stairs. "Gotcha!" Appearing from nowhere, Gideon grabbed Yobi's invisible body. "Let me go! Let me go!" Yobi was struggling with ferocity in Gideon's arm, but Gideon was much stronger. "First, you have to help me with the mess you made in the playground. You know it takes me longer to fix when I don't know the spell you used." Yobi started to reappear and laughed. "That's not funny if I tell you." "I won't tell anything." "Well, Gideon," Brownie said, "I think we'll have to call Tan to help us." Yobi stopped laughing and reappeared completely. He took one of his tail still showing black burn traces lovingly in his hands. A week earlier, Yubi had tried to put the playground on her chaos by throwing paint he had stolen in Jaida's room at everybody. Unfortunately for him, Tan didn't appreciate it, and the surprise making him lose control of his power, he had accidentally set one of Yubi's tail on fire. Now, Yubi was so afraid to be burned again that everybody was trying to pressure him by calling Tan for help, which was more or less working. Not him! Not him! He started to cry loudly, making Ayokunle smile a little between his tears. Mikala walked out of the kitchen, alerted by the noise, and looked at Gideon and Brownie angrily. Give him to me! She took Yobi out of Gideon's arm and started cuddling him. It's okay, I'm here now. She turned to Gideon. Won't you ever stop torturing him? She started walking away. It's okay, sweetie, don't cry. Hey, wait a minute! Gideon said, stopping her by holding her arm. I need a spell to fix the playground. And I want my teddy, Ayo said, starting to cry again. Yobi, where did you hide Ayo's teddy? Mikala asked softly. I like it a lot. I want to keep it, Yobi answered, putting. Feeling safe in Mikala's arm, he had instantaneously stopped crying. What about we go in town after getting you some milk? And I got you a teddy too. It would be all yours. Mikala smiled, knowing that the soft method was working wonders with Yobi. You'll do that? Really? The little fox said, his eyes brightening. Mikala nodded, and Brownie sighed. Giving a reward to a child for stealing wasn't really her idea of a good education. I want a big one, Yubi said, spreading his arms as much as he could. So tell me first, where did you hide Ayo's teddy? Brownie said, losing patience. It's under my bed, Yubi said. Let's go, Ayo. Brownie started to climb the stairs, carrying Ayokunle in her arms. And it's full of spiders there, Yubi said, quickly laughing. Ayokunle started to cry again. I don't want spider on my teddy. Yubi laughed louder. It's gonna be okay, Ayo. I'll take care of the spiders, Brownie said, throwing a dull look at Yubi, who was pulling his tongue at them. She walked with Ayo to the baby room, leaving Gideon and Mikala dealing with Yubi. She never understood how a 400-year-old nine-tailed fox could still find interest in pulling such pranks. 400 years old and still a baby. She sighed. She had more important things to think about today. Can you get it? Ayo said, trying to be brave. I'm scared of spiders. There are no spiders. She knelt on the floor and took the teddy out of under Yobi's bed. You see? No spiders at all. Ayokunle hugged his teddy, as if he thought he had never going to see it ever again. What if the spiders come back? He finally asked, worried. You know how much Mum is always cleaning here all the time. The spiders didn't like to be annoyed, so they decided to live elsewhere. Really? Ayokunle's eyes opened larger, but he was a bit incredulous. Are you sure? Of course! I saw them leave long time ago with their suitcase and boxes. Brownie had it very seriously. Ayokunle giggled. Spiders don't have suitcases. Brownie felt a bit relieved to see him smile again. Of course they do. Let me see. Brownie stood up, took the little boy in her arms, and walked to the bookshelf. Where is it? Oh, yes, here. She took a big book out of the shelf, went to sit on Ayokunle's bed, and started to turn the pages. Ayo was looking interested at the images, passing until Brownie stopped to a story called The Spider and the Moon Princess, and started to read. After a few pages, the image shows spiders leaving the moon with a lot of suitcases. Ayokunle opened big eyes. They do have a lot of suitcases! Didn't I tell you so? Brownie continued to read, and Ayo yawned. He must have been very tired from crying and worrying so much for his teddy bear. Are you tired? We can stop if you want, Brownie asked. No, I like stories, Ayo answered, yawning again. Do you think all the spiders are in Saphira's room now? I don't know, Brownie said. I'll ask her later, Ayo said, yawning again. He was starting to have problem staying awake, Brownie continued to read until the little boy fell asleep in her arms. She put him tenderly in his bed with his teddy and kissed his forehead. "Sweet dream," she muttered, and she left the room and walked towards the library again. She had read so many books in here the past few weeks without finding anything reliable enough or powerful enough for her purpose. She was wondering if she had missed something, but there were so many more she could read that she preferred not to think about doing it all over again. She walked to the second floor in the demon section of the library. She didn't really know if she could feel lucky about having her mom bringing so many strange books from her travel all the time. Cooking for Demons, Demonic Proverbs, Demon Disease. She took that one. One more of a kind, she thought. She really knew how to cure demon earache, headache, backache, windhache, flu, cold, and the list seemed to extend indefinitely. Raise your baby demon. She smiled reading this title and took the book. It wasn't likely to help her in any way, but it could still be nice to have a look at it. If you didn't lose his soul, that would probably have been the only one she would ever have to read. She went back to her usual armchair. Books were spread everywhere around it on the floor. She put her 2 new books with them and went back to the one she had been reading the day before. Demon Magic. The next chapter was describing the ceremony used to link the demon dark side to his body. It was a sort of demonic baptism. She couldn't help thinking that they should probably have avoided. Neo's dark side made him suffer so much. What was the use for dark side anyway, and where was it coming from? Sometimes she wondered if trying to understand the dark side instead of fighting it wouldn't have been a better idea. Since the fight for power in the demon's body between his soul and his dark side would probably have stopped. But it was too late for that now. She continued to read. The dark side protects the demon. Without it, they become vulnerable to other demons' attack, and their soul and inside protective magic. The dark side usually reacts like a shield. It also carries the power that the demon used to. She suddenly closed the book and started to cry again. It was all lies. The dark side never protected him. She was the one protecting him, and she had failed at it. The dark side just wanted to take over his body, to make him disappear. It was vile and nasty. It betrayed him until the very last moment. She took the second book and read through the table of contents. She needed to stop having bad thoughts and to concentrate. And here it was, the 8th chapter. She wiped her tears and started to turn the page frenetically. On page 104, chapter 8, Soul Recall. She couldn't believe it. It was here. It always had been. It was so unfair that she should find it only now. She was reading through it slowly, carefully, wanting to make sure it wasn't a descriptive chapter. She had read so many telling that the demon removed the soul of one of them if he committed a crime against the demonic community, and how they erased his memory, and how they tortured him until he lost everything he ever had. The worst punishment possible for a demon, becoming human. A human with the appearance of a demon who didn't remember who he was. But this book was different. They listed the material necessary. They explained step by step how to recall a lost soul, demonic or not. Brownie read it 3 times before being really able to believe it. She would be able to bring his soul back finally. She was sure of it now. She knew it was too late for his memory, but at least the things that made her fall in love with him would be safe. She took a sheet of paper and a pencil and started to write down her shopping list with a trembling hand. It was too late to go tonight, but she would go first thing tomorrow morning. During the past few weeks, her nightmare had kept her awake, so she had become an early riser. So many things had changed. 3 purple candles, 2 white candles, cinnamon incense, olibanum incense, patchouli incense, coconut incense, and 1 apple. After that, the list was more or less looking like a cooking list. The olibanum incense would probably be the more difficult to find, but she already knew how to find it. Once, as they were shopping together, you had taken her to a very dark and narrow street that was barely visible from a bright large street in the city center. "I'm taking you here because I need stuff, but don't you ever come here alone," he said. At first she had laughed, but soon understood why. The place was full of dark creatures, even worse than demons. With you, she had no need to worry, but a human hero will probably not live long enough to tell about this place to anyone. They had been to several places, and you had bought his stuff. "Why didn't you buy all that at the first stop?" she asked. "It's such a waste of time." "Well, it's safer if no one else than you knows a complete list of ingredients. You see, I prefer when nobody knows what I'm doing," he answered. "And what are you doing exactly?" she asked again, giving him a suspicious look. He laughed. "You'll see soon enough. Let's go out of here." She didn't make him say twice, and rushed out of the street. Back to the light, she couldn't have felt better. "Do you come here often?" Sometimes the world he lived in seemed so far away from hers. "Only when it's absolutely necessary," he answered. "Let's go get an ice cream." "Only when it's absolutely necessary," she thought again. Well, this time it was absolutely necessary. Going there alone wasn't a rejoicing task, but it was absolutely necessary. She put down her purse and looked at the list. Tomorrow, the dark passed first, then the rest of the shopping. It was way better to be caught there with nothing, in case she was caught. She started to bring the books back to their shelf. Over the last few weeks she had learned so much about demons. But that was the first time she felt almost happy about it. At first she felt like she was invading Yu's world without his consent. He had always been so reluctant to talk about other demons and what he could do. While putting back the book, she heard a strange click coming from the wall behind the shelf. She stopped a second, listening, but there was nothing to be heard except her own breathing. She thought it was her imagination. The library could be full of strange noises in the evening. She put another book in place, then another, and heard the click again. This time, the bookshelf slightly moved away from the wall, turning slowly. She walked to the end of it and pulled. There was a hole in the wall, and she could feel some cold wind coming from it. She pushed the bookshelf away from the wall until she could slip in. It was a room, not too large but not too small, with a big wooden door at the back, which she had no idea where it could lead. There was a big armchair and carpets on the floor, some more bookshelves and a desk, as well as some dry wood near the chimney. Her whole room was looking pretty comfortable. She was wondering who might have used this secret room before. It wasn't the first one to be discovered. A few months ago, the boy had broken a window's glass on the second floor while playing football in the garden. But wherever they had looked, the ball was nowhere to be found, until they finally realized that they couldn't find a window either from inside, just like the big wooden door that she had never seen from outside the room. Finally, 2 days later, while trying to do some more mischief, Yobi had fallen on the floor with a stolen toy which had pushed a piece of wood and opened the secret room, finding the ball at the same time. The house was really old, and strange things were always to be found. In this room was going to stay her secret, and she decided instantaneously to use it for a spell. With so many children living in the house, even the library could be invaded any time, and this particular spell needed to be performed more carefully than ever. She went out of the room and closed it carefully, making sure that nobody else would find it anytime soon. Some of her siblings were real bookworms, even if they didn't spend much time in this part of the library. She took the last book. It was Raise Your Baby Demon. She started to go through the first page. How to choose a baby name, everything the baby could need, the infantile disease. An heir, that's what you used to call her future baby. She remembers the first time and smiled. He was looking so innocent at the time. He wasn't even her boyfriend yet. He still had trouble to choose between her and his demonic, crazy life. When you grow up, would you give me an heir? he asked. An heir? She was a bit confused. Yes, I want to have a baby sometime. Just, I don't know if that will be possible yet. He looked very far away in the distance. Well, that depends if you love me or not. You can't have a baby without love, she answered. I see. At that time, it had been so difficult to know what he wanted, what he felt. Thinking about it, it had been difficult until the end. Giving him his soul back would be her last gift for him, even if she knew she would never see him again. She put the book back. After tomorrow, she would not have to worry about demons ever again. Shumba opened the library door abruptly. Brownie, where are you? It's time for dinner. Shumba wasn't the most delicate boy in the house, by far. I'm here, I'm coming, Brownie said from the second floor. Shumba ran up the stairs to join her and grabbed her arm. Hurry, we're having spaghetti. What are you doing with all those books anyway? She made her list disappear quickly under her trousers pocket. Nothing really, I'm almost finished. You can go first. No, I'll help. Shumba took the book in her hand and put it on the shelf. See, hold on, let's go. You can't just put back like that anywhere. They'll be lost, Brownie answered, taking the book back and looking for its real place. Well, it'd still be in the room, so that's not a problem, Shumba laughed. Brownie shook her head. That's not what I mean. You need to place them in alphabetical order. See, here, she placed the book carefully on the shelf. Or you won't be able to find it easily next time you're looking for it. Shumba sighed. Books are so boring anyway, and I'm hungry. Brownie laughed. You didn't say that when you were little? I wasn't the king of hip-hop when I was little. You want to see my new move? His eyes suddenly brightened, and he started to dance in front of her without waiting for her answer. She watched him do tenderly. So, do you like it? He said at the end. I love it. No, let's go for dinner before they eat all the spaghetti, she said, smiling. Shumba always needed to show her anything new he learned, and she was a good audience. They were the last two to arrive in the kitchen. The little one already had dinner and were in bed. It was better, as with Yobi, Tan, Danny, and Tito in the same room, meals often turned very messy. Danny started to control his telekinetic power much better now, but whenever he was surprised, the thing he was concentrating on would explode. Of course, Yobi wouldn't miss an occasion to make it happen and have a good laugh. If the object in question had anything to do with water, or was coming anywhere near Tito, all the water in the room would end up levitating, until something, generally Yobi is doing, would make Tito think about something else and release it wherever it was. The kitchen often looked like a war field after the little one's dinner, and they had given up a family dinner long time ago, preferring to split the kids in two groups to avoid too much trouble. The conversation was animated. Hitomi wanted to tell everyone about her next novel. Hitomi had spent few days waiting by the door, experiencing the feeling of her new main character. The girl in the novel was supposed to be sick, and to wait for Prince Charming to appear at the door. Apparently, spying on the people passing by the street had been a very interesting experience. Generally, Brownie liked to hear Hitomi tell her strange story, but tonight she could only think about one thing. How would she get what she needed from the dark path? She couldn't possibly ask anyone to come with her, and she would need a nice disguise to go in there. I go in. I get the incense as fast as possible, and I go out. Everything is going to be alright. She kept on telling herself, but she wasn't really convinced. She was still lost in her thought. As the dinner ended, she walked back to her bedroom. She looked through her wardrobe. I need to look like a demon, or a witch, or something. I need to look bad enough so that nobody will try to annoy me. Let's see. She took out dark clothes. She had a pretty nice dress, but trousers would probably feel more comfortable, and the large deep blue cloak with the large hood, so that she could conceal her face. The more difficult would be to hide her smell. Demon had a much more powerful sense of smell, and If she smelled like a human alone in there, that would be the end of her. She walked to the bathroom adjacent to her room and took a look at her bottle of perfume. That would never be enough. Even all the bottles together would never hide the smell of human. The delicious smell of fresh blood running through her veins, and the smell of fear, because just the thought of going there on her own was already frightening. As she was going through her makeup, thinking about the witch face she was going to make to herself, another memory came to her mind, and the idea suddenly occurred to her. Fish. She needed to smell like fish. The first time she decided to cook Hugh's dinner, they were shopping together. She wanted to cook him a specialty of salmon lasagna, but as soon as he entered the fish section of the shop following her, Hugh started to feel really sick. So sick that she had to carry him out to fresh air. If she smelled like fish tomorrow, it was certain that she wouldn't attract any demon too close until her purchase was over. She reviewed her plan once more and took a hot shower before going to bed. She had started to go to bed later and later, not to face her nightmare, but tomorrow was a big day, and tomorrow she would probably be able to say goodbye to those nightmares. She fell asleep a bit reassured. So here we go, that was the first chapter. I hope you enjoyed it, and see you next week for the second one.